Let's see. A pleasant good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to our fourth session of our practical workshop. Thank you all for being here. I am Julia Ribeiro, and I'm your moderator. We are happy to have Professor Alison with us today. She is the head of the Sir Albert Cook Medical Library, Makerere University College of Health Sciences, Uganda. She brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise in the areas of information management and evidence synthesis. For the past 7 years, she has been involved in training students, researchers, and faculty in various institutions in Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Zambia, and Ethiopia. Professor Alison will be guiding us through today's topic, developing search strategies and conducting the search. In today's session, you are advised to post all your questions in the Q&A box. We will try our best to have about 10 minutes to answer as many questions as possible before we break out into our group activity session. Kindly note you have received in your email the group activity instructions for today. The group activity will be for about 30 to 45 minutes. If time permits us, we will call upon one or two groups to present. Without further ado, let us welcome Professor Alison Kinengyere. Professor Alison.
Thank you very much, Julia. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Okay, if I can share my slides. Okay, so this session, I understand this is the fourth session. We are looking at how to develop search strategies for systematic reviews and how to conduct the search. We shall follow this outline. I'm trying to remove something here. We shall follow this outline. We shall look at the learning outcome, the importance of a search strategy in systematic reviews and other evidence synthesis methodologies, the key steps in developing the search strategy. We shall see how to conduct the search strategy. We'll have a practical session, and then managing and documenting the search process. We will have, if time allows, we shall have questions and answer session. Then we'll have a group assignment, and we shall conclude our session. So I expect you to, by the end of this session, to know the importance of an effective literature search, to describe the main features of a search strategy, to develop a comprehensive search strategy that is based on keywords and at least one framework, and the research questions and objectives. Then I also expect you to be able to carry out an effective literature search and to evaluate your results or the effectiveness of the search strategy. And all this is aimed at obtaining the required documents to include in a systematic review. So why do we really have to have an effective literature search when we are conducting a systematic review? I hope that I'm audible. Am I audible?
Yes, Ma, you are clear.
Yes, you are audible. Loud enough.
All right. So an effective literature search is a critical component of a systematic review, as it lays the foundation for the entire review process. And usually systematic reviews are based on the most relevant, the most comprehensive and high quality evidence. And that is why we put a lot of emphasis on identifying the right literature because it affects the entire process of the systematic review. If we, for example, use literature that is not comprehensively found, we risk leaving out literature that is relevant to our systematic review. Failure to locate it can significantly affect the results and our findings of the systematic review. So it ensures comprehensive and unbiased results because we will have done it comprehensively. And it also minimizes the risk of missing relevant studies. And as we do all this, we access more relevant literature. So a quick go through of the main steps of a systematic review. All these steps are not in my docket, but I just brought it here to show you the main steps of a systematic review. I'm sure you have passed through some of them. The first one is preparation, and under preparation is where you find things like protocol development, like determining the eligibility criteria, registering the protocol, and so many other things. And then the next one, which is in blue, which is our focus in this session, is retrieval. And retrieval involves searching for literature. But of course, to search for literature, we need to identify, we need to develop the search terms. We need to plan to know how to search for literature comprehensively, because as I mentioned, it will affect the entire systematic review if we don't do it very, very properly and comprehensively. As you see, all those 5 steps, we have to do them comprehensively. Then the next stage would be appraisal, and appraisal refers to screening of the studies that you have retrieved from the previous, from the retrieval stage. It involves deduplication, it involves screening and risk of bias assessment. And then we have synthesis, where you extract the data from the studies, and then the final stage would be the write-up. But for this particular session, we are going to focus on stage 2, which is number blue on the screen, which is information retrieval. So the key steps in developing the search strategy. Developing the search strategy is the very first step in stage 2, that blue section. So we have a number of ways that we can develop the search strategy. And the first one stems from the previous ones that you have actually gone through, breaking down the research question into concepts using frameworks. In the previous sessions, I saw that you were actually familiar with PICO, the PICO framework. But I also would like to say that PICO is actually, it focuses on interventions, health interventions, that we have other frameworks that I will be sharing with you. Then you break down the research question also by using seed studies. And when I say seed studies, I mean the gold standard studies that you may have that you think that should be included in your study. Even before you run the search, you should be having those studies, maybe 2 or 3 or 10, that you know, these ones, when I search for literature, they should be included. And remember, there is no sneaking in studies because the search process is comprehensively done and documented. So there is nothing like I'm going to sneak in my 3 studies because I did not capture them in the literature. That one is not there. You have to make sure that you capture those studies for you to include them in your review. Then we shall also look at the search techniques. There are certain techniques that you need to use as you develop the search strategy. Then we shall select, the next stage would be select appropriate databases. And then we compile our search strategy. Then we execute the search or run the search in various databases. In most cases, we develop the search strategy based on one master database. And after we have done that and we are convinced that the search strategy is going to retrieve the literature that we want, then we adapt that search strategy for different databases. Why do we have to do this? Because databases are different, as I mentioned, and they sometimes use different symbols. So once you use a search strategy in, for example, PubMed, you need to adapt it to the Web of Science so that it fits, because you may run it in another database and it shows you an error message that we cannot find studies. So the important point here is you must adopt it. You must make sure that you customize it to that particular database. And then at the end of it all, we need to find full text papers that we can use in the systematic review. So let's quickly look at the frameworks. And these ones I'll just go through because I know we have already gone through some of the frameworks. But the frameworks, they assist to break down the review question into concepts. And they help us to answer the who. I looked at the studies at your different groups, and I see that each group has started their question with what does this do this, when, how. So those are the questions that the review will be answering. So the framework helps us to break down the question into those different questions. And then the frameworks, in addition to helping us develop a well-formulated question in various disciplines, they also help us to organize the concepts where we extract keywords that then we use to develop the search strategy and execute the search. And I'm not sure how many of those, there are quite a number out there. I picked just 5 of these, but I'm sure that you are familiar with the first PICO. And these are the others that we can use in social sciences, in qualitative research, in education. So there are a number of them, and we can always adapt them based on your research topic. So I'm still on the frameworks. I believe that the PICO is already familiar. It stands for Population Intervention Comparison and Outcome. You can add an S if you have a study design, or you can have a T if you have a timeline. And then the PICO with the small o, the CO with the small o means context. And this is usually used in qualitative studies. The first one, PICO, is appropriate for quantitative studies, but also for interventions for health. Then the spider is good for qualitative research. And those are the spider, the S stands for sample, then the phenomenon of interest, the design, the evaluation, and the research type. And finally, we have the SPICE, where S stands for setting and perspective. P stands for perspective, for whom, then the intervention, what else, comparison would be compared with, and then evaluation with what results. And it is mostly used in the social sciences. As I mentioned, I have picked just these few, but there are very many out there, and you can, if you try to find, you get all of them, and each one can help you depending on your research study, on your research topic. You can always pick the appropriate framework. And we even have more. We have PO, where we remove the C and put E for exposure and O for outcome. And then we have form. That one is used in medical education, but we have very many more out there. Now, the seed studies that I talked about, these are landmark articles that are known to be relevant to the review topic. You may already have these, maybe your supervisor or your co-reviewers or whoever may have said, oh, there is this literature, it could be relevant for your review. So you already have those ones, and they will help you in refining, validating the search strategy, and evaluating if actually your search strategy is a good one, has retrieved relevant studies. It is a starting point for identifying relevant terms and which databases to use. Now let's look at the search techniques. The search techniques are quite many also, and they are very, very important when you are when you're developing a search strategy and when you're running the search. And the very first one is Boolean operators. We shall see this one in full. We have synonyms, we have phrase searching or truncation, which is sometimes referred to as stemming, and wildcards. Then we have field searching, subject headings, and then at the end, once you have finished your search and you have your results, you can always limit them by maybe by study design. You can limit them by date of publication. You can limit them by region. So there are very many filters out there, and we shall look at some of them when we do a demonstration. So the Boolean operators are logical connectors that refine your search by combining keywords and phrases, and this allows you to narrow or broaden your search results. So the main ones are and, or, and not. So and narrows your search, and all the terms that appear in the search results are displayed when you use and. They can be picked. Now, or expands the search. Results with at least one of the search terms is what is retrieved when you use O, and it is useful when you're using related terms, as we shall see. And then the not excludes specific terms from the search results, and this helps to eliminate irrelevant information. So the Boolean operators either broaden or narrow the search results to match a specific research need. So using Boolean operator and, I mentioned that and narrows our search. So for example, if you search for malaria in children in Southern Africa, I believe that your topic will be having those top words in, and, or, but those ones when you're running your search, you don't include them. So as you can see, I have used the word and, the Boolean operator and, to look for those studies that have in them malaria. They also have in them children, and they also have in them the region, which is Southern Africa. So this means the first circle up, as you're seeing, has the condition, which is the problem, which is malaria. The second circle on your right has our population. And then the pinkish third circle has the region, which is Southern Africa. So in these three circles that are combined, if you look at the intersection, that darkish triangle in the middle, what we call the intersection, that area will have studies that have malaria, that have children, that have Southern Africa. The outer parts of the circle will not be relevant in this case, because we say we want those studies, the studies that only have malaria together with children, together with Southern Africa. So that is why I say that the Boolean operator and narrows down your search, but it makes it more relevant or precise. So with and, it narrows, and the relevant one is that part in the middle, the intersection. Now, the or expands our search, and it is usually used when we are looking at synonyms or terms that are related. So in this case, if you're those 4 circles that you're looking at, if you look at the words that are in those circles, they are all related to a certain population. There is young adult, there is adolescent, there is youth and teenager. So when you use Boolean operator or, it means that you're looking for studies, and those studies should have either young adults in them, or adolescent in them, or youth in them, or teenager in them, or all of those. So as you can see, the Boolean operator or expands your search. Unlike the and, where we looked at the intersection in the middle as the relevant space that has all those the three words. This one is very wide, it expands, because whether you pick a study, you search and pick a study that has only teenager, it is relevant. One that has only youth is relevant, and a study that has all the four is still relevant. So that's what I mean when I say expanding the search, widening the search. Now, the third Boolean operator is not, and this one excludes studies that are not relevant. So for this one, I searched for cats and not dogs. So it would be cats, not dogs. And what this search gives me, it will give me those studies that have cats. The studies that have dogs, it will exclude. The studies that have cats and dogs, it will exclude. So it's only the green shaded part that I'm interested in. That's when I use the Boolean operator, not. Okay, let's move on. So this is just to summarize what I've just talked about. The and narrows your search and puts all the terms that you have used to search in your studies, and that's the intersection. And then the or expands your search, and the not excludes certain search terms. So we shall look at this as we do the practical. Then another search technique is synonyms or related terms. Now, when you're searching for literature, you cannot just pick what is in your title. You cannot pick only what is in your title, because different authors have used different terms. So one will use global warming, another one will use environmental change, another one will use climate disruption. And yet for me as a researcher, systematic reviewer, I want all those studies where the word global warming and all its synonyms appear. So if you just go into the database and search for global warming, you'll miss out on studies where the author used climate crisis or environmental change. So it's very important that we include all those so that we don't miss out on literature. Then another example is adolescents, teenagers. I think I've already looked at this one in the previous Boolean operator or, where adolescents, teenagers, youth, young adults, they mean the same category of population, but they are different words, and authors use them as different. You may just use adolescents, you may just use young adults or youth, but when you're finding literature, we need to find everything. So that is the synonyms, and we'll be using them quite a lot. Now, there's what we call phrase searching. Phrase searching uses those quotation marks. I ran a quick search in Google Scholar. I put the word climate change in quotes, and I picked 5.4 plus million hits. But when I removed the quotes and searched the same word climate change, the same terms climate change, I got 13.3 plus hits. So the search terms, those quotations help you to get the exact phrase. And it will only pick those studies where that phrase is. It will not pick studies with just climate and studies with change. It will pick only those studies that have climate change, or that have where climate and change are together. That is phrase searching. Now, truncation and wildcards and terminology, they allow for searching words that end differently. They may start the same but end differently, and they also help us to with alternative spellings. So for example, we know that color, there are different spellings of color. There is C-O-L-O-U-R, and then there is another color where the U is not there. So the first color is American spelling, the second color is British spelling, but when we are searching for literature, we are not looking at whether this is British or this is American. We want all. Whether the author used color with a U or color without a U, we need all that literature. So it is very important that we truncate and pick everything. The same way with organize, that hashtag is used in some databases. So we also need to know which symbols are used in which database. So it helps us also where the spellings are different, organize with Z and organize with S. And one is American, the other one is British. Then market with an asterisk will return marketing, markets, marketable, etc. So when you truncate, the system, the database system will pick the first word and even those words that have the same word but end differently. And then of course the terminology, you find the Americans call it physical therapy and the British call it physiotherapy. So when we are searching, we need to combine those two so that we don't miss out on relevant literature because we have used just one term. And then we have field searching. And field searching, you can search when you're searching, you say, I'm going to search for studies, but because this is very, very relevant and I want it very precise, I want my studies to appear in the title. So you can select title. And if you want to broaden it up, you say, okay, if it appears in the abstract, it will definitely have appeared in the title in most cases, or it will also appear in the body because we know that the abstract is a summary of the whole of the text. You can also say, I want it in the full text. You can say, I want to search for the digital object identifier, the DOI. And in this particular case, you have to know the DOI. You know, these identifiers are studies, articles that are published. They are usually assigned unique identifiers. So if you have a digital object identifier of a particular study, then you can use the DOI. This one is somehow limiting because you will pick that particular study, but the related studies or other studies that are relevant will not be picked. So I usually don't encourage this to be used in when you're searching for literature for evidence synthesis or for systematic reviews, same as the URL or the Uniform Resource Locator. For the topic search, some databases like the Web of Science, you can use topic search and it will give you good results. But again, also in the Web of Science, you can use title, you can use abstract, you can use many other fields to search for literature. Then we have what we call subject headings, and this is controlled vocabulary for indexing terms that describe a given subject matter. And the main one that we know is medical subject heading, and these are keywords that are assigned to each record that is indexed in Medline. Medline is one of those medical databases. So a mesh term contains a definition of the term. When you open the mesh, you find the definition, you find associated subheadings, you find a list of entry terms, and also the tree of the mesh. And the subheadings and associated to mesh are displayed just like you see it here. So that is our mesh tree. When you type in the word education, it can give you that kind of setting where you see education in black, and under education, there are narrower terms of education. There is academia, there is curriculum, there is competence-based education, but they are all stemming from the main heading, the main entry, which is education. And if you look down at the entry terms at the bottom, the ones in black, they give you other entry terms that were used to index where the article was written on education and indexed in PubMed. So down there we see educational activities, educational program, literacy, all those terms are entry terms, and you can use them depending on your search topic if you're doing research on education. Now, the synonyms or the subject headings continue. So if you type in the word cancer, in the medical subject headings, you are most likely going to get all those entries. And first of all, it will show you the definition of cancer, and then it will also tell you that actually the medical subject headings for the word cancer is not cancer, but it is neoplasm. So those are the different types of cancers that are found under neoplasms or under cancer. So that is how the medical subject headings help us to pick other terms that we can use when we are searching for literature. Then there is setting the limits. You can set by language. You can set by date of publication of the articles. You may want research. You may want in your systematic review, for example, you may want to pick only studies that were published between 2000 and 2025. And usually in your systematic review, you have to give a reason. You have to justify why you are picking only those studies between 2000 and 2025. Remember, in the systematic review, we are looking at minimizing bias. So if you don't explain why you picked 2000 to 2025, that could somehow lead to selection bias. So we need to say 2000 to 2025, maybe that's the date. 2000 is the date when the WHO guidelines were maybe written. And if you are doing research on WHO guidelines on malaria in Africa, then you have to look at the time when those guidelines were established or they were written. And that is one of the ways you can justify the date. You can also justify the English, the language, because we are trying to be transparent. I know most of us don't speak another language, maybe Spanish, French, but then it brings in language bias. Language bias, because you may find a very relevant study that is relevant to your research, to your review, but it is written in Portuguese, for example. You could use Google translators, you could use you can actually even hire a translator to translate for you. But in most cases, that is time consuming, it is costly to hire somebody. And really, if you used Google Translate, myself, I don't trust it because it will not give you exactly what you want. Then you can also limit by region. You can say Sub-Saharan Africa or low and middle income countries. You can just say, I'm doing a systematic review on this country. But in most cases, there is not sufficient literature on most topics in just one country. So the best would be maybe Eastern Africa, Western Africa, Southern Africa, which includes, which includes more than one country. You can also say, I want to look at developed countries. For example, I can say, I want to look at Europe. You know that Europe will have many countries. I want to look at America, So you need to select the region where you want to pick the studies or studies to inform your systematic review. Then availability is there. It can be used as a filter, but it's really not, I wouldn't say, when you search for, when you search a database where, for example, there are free articles, like in PubMed Central. If you search PubMed, you find PubMed Central. You can search Agile. You can find all those that have open access articles. But those that do not have open access, they may also be relevant to your study. So we need to look for to search very many places, ask very many people. We need to do it so comprehensively that we make sure that we obtain as many studies as we can that will inform our systematic review. Then you can also say, I want to filter by study design. For example, I'm going to do a systematic review of randomized controlled trials only. So that means the other studies, the other study designs, you leave them out. And that one informs your eligibility criteria. When you're setting your eligibility criteria, you'll say, we are going to look at only those studies that are RCTs. If they are not, we exclude. And there are very many other limits that we can use, but I just picked on these main ones. Are we still together? So,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yeah.
Julia, I can hand over to you. If there is any question, we could maybe answer just one question and we proceed.
Sure, no problem. We'll take one question, one raised hand. Who's the first person? Home, your hand is raised. Go ahead. Please unmute.
Okay. Yeah. Greetings. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Yeah, sorry. Thank you very much for such a very insightful presentation and lecture. My question is on the searching by title. How would you please throw more light on that? Title or by abstract? I think that was what you taught us there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Home. When we go to do a demonstration after my slides, I think after the slides, that's where we are going. I'm going to show you how you select a title or abstract or keywords, and you run that search exclusively. You want your search terms to appear in the title, or you want them to appear in the abstract. I think that one I'll do it practically when we start searching PubMed. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so let's proceed. We will take other questions later. So I have my small research topic here that I would like to use for this demonstration. So the first, my topic is jogging good for pigs? I should have put a question mark there. Is jogging good for pigs? So if you look at my topic, how many concepts can you see?
You can put your answers in the chat, everyone.
Okay, put your answers in the chat. And which ones are those? And which ones are those? Someone is saying 3. Jogging is one of them. Jogging and pigs. Okay, thank you. So there are actually 2 main concepts there. And the first one is jogging, the second one is pigs. There is something that I did not mention. When you see those words like is, like good, like for, like before, like within, those ones we call them stop words. And those ones we don't exclude them, we don't count them when we are searching because they do not add value to our search. What adds value is actually those main concepts, jogging and pigs. You may find a research question that has very many concepts based on pickle or spice or whatever, but we need to remove those stop words that will not add value to our search. So there are 2, and the first one, our population is the pigs, and then the intervention is jogging. There is no comparator, and of course there is some outcome there. Why do pigs jog, for example? Is it for good health? Is it for, so those are the things that we need to include. The comparator is not always there. Sometimes it's there when you're comparing 2 things, but when it's not there, it should not stop us from proceeding without the comparator. Okay, so I'm going to refine my search terms now. Is jogging good for pigs? Now, I have picked my population as pigs. the next step is to look for synonyms or the words that are related to pigs and the words that are related to jogging. So my pigs, I have pig or pigs or piglet, you know, some author may have used piglet and not pigs. And for us to be able to capture that literature when we run the search, we need to say pig or pigs or piglet or piglets. We should have added S, and or swine or boars or hogs. All those words in red that you're seeing describe our population, and we need to have all of them in the search. Then on your right where you're seeing blue, the other one, the intervention is actually jogging. So we need to pick all those words that are related to jogging so that we don't miss out on literature. Remember, synonyms help us to be comprehensive so that we don't miss out literature where the authors used different words to mean the same, you know? So I'm continuing, I've started now developing my search strategy. Do you see where I am now? I started with the question, I broke it into the two concepts of pigs and jogging, and now I'm continuing to apply the Boolean operators or and and. And if you remember in the previous slides, I mentioned that or, Boolean operator or is used with synonyms. Boolean operator and is used to combine different concepts. And I do hope that is clear. So when you are bringing the pigs concept, combining it with the intervention, which is jogging, then you use Boolean operator and. And we are going to do this practically. We can also use parentheses. We actually use, when you're searching different concepts, and the different concepts, you've put them together, finally you close them, open them and close them with brackets before you apply a different concept. So in this case, the concepts on pig, piglet, swine, whatever, I'm going to put them in brackets, and then I put Boolean operator and, then I open the brackets and put another concept, the other concepts of jogging. So that is how we use the parentheses. And these are my terms now. The concept one is for pig. So I have tried to develop the search terms, the search string for pig. And where you see the star or the asterisk, it means the system is going to pick studies that have pig, that have pigs, that have piglets, that have swine, that have boar and boars, that have hogs and hog, so and so's, etc., etc. Those are the terms for our population pig. Concept 2 is the intervention, which is jogging. The related terms are there. So when I combine these two concepts, what you see, what happens is what you are seeing in green at the bottom of the slide. So I have actually developed my search strategy from the question. If you remember the question I started, is jogging good for pigs? So that's my search strategy that I'm going to use in the systematic review. One thing that I need to remind you of, I'm trying to look at the time. One thing that I need to remind you of is that the search strategy, the way you do it is the same way we're going to report it in a systematic review. So you had better do it very well, do it comprehensively, because it is going to be published together with the systematic review, and it can actually be critiqued. You know, in most cases, when you do your search strategy, you need to have what we call peer reviewers, someone to look at it. You can have a fellow librarian or information retrieval specialist, or you can have the content expert, one of the reviewers, to look at it and be sure that all the words that we need are actually there. Because remember, when it is critiqued in a systematic review, the criticism will go back to the authors, okay? So that's it. And in summary, this is what happens. Jogging and pigs using Boolean operator and, it narrows down. The intersection will have studies on jogging and pigs, both. The O is wide. Whether pigs or hogs it will be relevant. All the studies will be relevant. Now, for the lower one where I introduced in cows, because they are both animals, and I'm interested only in cows, in pigs. Even if I get studies that have both pigs and cows, I'm not interested in them. Cows, I'm not interested in them. I only want pigs. So that's how the Boolean operators work. Once you have developed your search strategy, the one that we have just seen in green, the next step is select the sources. Where are you going to search for literature? This one is on institution basis, because different institutions have subscribed to different databases. So I will not say, please search Web of Science when you have no access. Of course, we have our a few databases like PubMed, which are open. You can search for it. You can search and find literature references anywhere. But if I ask each one of you to search the Web of Science, you are going to ask me, but we are not subscribing. We need the password, you know? So this one, in whatever institution you're coming from, when you reach this stage, you really need to work with your librarian to help you, show you which resources or which databases your institution has access to. And to mention, the librarian is not supposed to be adopted at this stage, actually. The librarian should start at the inception of the topic, because throughout the process up to the time you publish the review, the librarian will be as vital as the systematic review itself. So those are the databases that you can search. You can, of course, I know there are very many others. You pick just a database where you have access to be able to search that literature. And maybe one thing I have to mention is, for a systematic review, you cannot search one database. You are expected to search a minimum of 3 databases. But you need to select them properly, because, for example, you are not going to search the PsycInfo database if you're not doing literature research. Your systematic review is focusing on mental health. Or how do I say it? If your research is focusing on mental health or psychiatry disorders and things, the main database for mental health is PsycInfo. So that one should not be left out. And if you left it out at the review, when you send your review for review, the reviewers will definitely ask you, why didn't you search this very core database on mental health? So you need to select your databases wisely. Okay, once you have finished selecting the database, then you execute the search. You execute the search, you use your keywords, you use your phrases, you use the words that are in the topic, you use the synonyms. We have all combined them. Remember, now we have that search string that you saw in green, and that's what we're going to copy and paste in our database. So this includes keywords, phrases, quotation marks, climate change, synonyms, different words with similar meanings. You have to combine all those words to do a comprehensive search. Now, once you have executed the search, you can first do a pilot search in one database. And if you feel that your results are actually relevant, then you customize that search to the other databases. And once you have done that, you need to evaluate and see, are these results relevant? Have I missed out studies? I mean, search terms that could have given me more relevant studies. Have I been able to retrieve my gold standard studies that I had at the beginning? Are they there? If they are not there, what's the result? If all those things are not there, then you know that the search strategy needs revision. And revising the search strategy is normal. You can go back and revise and add words and add more truncation and remove words. The important thing is for you to finally get literature that is relevant. Yes, and this is how how they are usually displayed. And from the jogging is jogging good for pigs? I picked one of these studies. Jogging gives pigs shapelier legs, but good diet helps hurt them more. And of course, these are our citations that we are picked. And finally, the important thing is make sure that you obtain the document, because now from this stage, if you remember the 5 steps of a systematic review, from this stage, you are sending the studies that you have retrieved from the various sources, you are sending them to the next stage, which is screening. And when this screening has two stages. The first stage is title abstract screening, where you just look at the title and the abstract and you say include or exclude. And after that, along the way, when you're doing title abstract screening, you may find that some studies are not clear. You are not very sure whether you should include or exclude. What you do, those ones you just include and you take them to the next stage, which is full text screening. There you look at the methodology, you look at your population, you look at all that information and say, do I need to include this in my review? And there at the stage of full text screening, you either include or exclude. So if you are not very sure at the stage of title abstract screening, please don't discard. Just take it forward to the next stage so that you don't miss out on relevant literature. Yes, now we are going to have a demonstration. Yeah, we are going to have a demonstration, but I would like to have, I don't know, Julia, can we have another question? Let me see what the time is. We have 3 minutes, we have 7 minutes. Could we have a question? I think there are many questions in the, group. I didn't see, but anyway, maybe just hold on, Julia, sorry. Before that, if I take you here, in adults with mild hypertension, does taking a daily dose of walking exercise compared to no exercise lower blood pressure over a period of 6 weeks? Our first step would be to put this into PICOT. The population is adults with mild hypertension. The intervention is exercise. The comparator is no exercise. The outcome is lower blood pressure, and the time is a period of 6 weeks. So that is where you start. And after doing that, then you go here. As you can see, I have picked the different concepts and used them to develop my search string. So as you can see, adults, that is the first one is population. The one in red, the one in purple is the intervention. And I have nothing to compare. Oh, I'm comparing those who do not exercise, who have not done an exercise and those who are doing exercise. And then the outcome, which is lowering blood pressure or normal blood pressure. And then the time setting, which is 6 weeks. So we are going to use this one. We could use this one, this particular one in our demonstration. So before we go to the demonstration, I would like to summarize what I've just talked about, that the literature search is the backbone of any systematic review. If I may share this, my first systematic review was actually an empty systematic review. Why? Because we searched for literature. You can find it, I think it is published in the Cochrane Library database of systematic reviews. We searched for literature on dual practice by health workers, and we found no studies that were meeting our eligibility criteria. But we went ahead and wrote that systematic review, and I think that was the beginning of more systematic reviews on that, because now the literature was coming up. So you can have an empty review, but it's very tricky because some publishers may not want to publish an empty review. So the literature search is the backbone of any systematic review. The quality and comprehensiveness of the search influences the overall quality and reliability of a systematic review. You need to have your effective search strategies. That is why you need, actually for me, when I'm running my search strategies, I take more time developing the search strategy than the time I take when I'm running the search. Because developing such strategies needs care, it needs time, it needs concentration, it needs consultation with your reviewers, it needs a lot of time. But once everything is clear and you have done your search strategy, you have developed it properly, running the database searches is very easy because you already have what to use to search the literature. The use of the search strategy checklist should be encouraged. I have not brought in the PRESS. There is PRESS. PRESS is a, I think, acronym for peer review of electronic search strategies. Actually, you can look for it online. You can use it to cross-check and see if your search strategy is okay. You can give it to peers to review and see if all the search terms have been included, if they have been combined properly with Boolean operators, if there are any truncations missing. That is how to evaluate your search strategy. You need to understand and use advanced searching, as we're going to do. And the Boolean operators are very, very powerful. I know sometimes they are not used. Most of our reviewers just pick a whole sentence and you throw it in PubMed, and of course you get results. But how many results have you got? Have you picked everything? Is that search strategy, can it be published with your systematic review? We need to do it very, very well, and we cannot do it without the Boolean operators. Learn the search rules of the various databases. As I mentioned, the various databases use different symbols. So you need to go to the database and know what symbol does the Web of Science use, what symbols does Medline use, which symbols can I use in PubMed, etc., etc. It helps very, very well because you may run a database in PubMed, you go and translate it into maybe Embase and it gives you 0 results. It does not mean that Embase has not indexed that literature, but it may mean that your search strategy is not properly focusing on what? On Embase. It has given you results in PubMed, but it may not give you results in Embase unless you customize that search strategy. So I come to the end of my presentation, and now we are going to have a quick practical session, and then we have our group assignment.
Thank you very much, Professor Alison. What we could do is take a couple of questions before we break out into the breakout room. We could take one hand raise, and we'll take one from the question and answer box. And while we are in the group activity, Professor Alison said she will go into the Q&A and answer as much questions as possible. Professor Alison, can you show the slide for the group activity, please, for everyone to see while we answer the question that you have here? So Owen,
Okay.
your hand is raised. Owen, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you for the presentation. My issue has to do with the search strategies, especially using the Boolean operators. You did mention that in each of the journal houses or the various search houses or database, they have specific rules or search terms that you need to use. Does it mean that if and again, you mentioned that in doing your review, you need to search for at least 3 different journal houses. Does it mean that at the end of the day, you may have to indicate specifically the search terms in terms of the combination of the keywords for each of the databases? Again, my other question is, I tried doing a search in Scopus, and then that is a Google Scholar, and then I put the search terms, and then Scopus changed the search terms to a different kind of operator for me. I don't know why it did it that way. And then when I put that one, the same terms in Google Scholar, it told me that it didn't have anything. It gave me 0 result. So why did it do that? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I didn't see the name of the person. Is this still home? Okay. So one thing that I would like to mention here is that in a systematic review, if you search, let me say you have searched 4 databases. For each database, you are going to publish the search string specifically for that database. So if you have searched for 4 databases, we expect you, like in the what do they call them? Supplementary file or appendix 1, you have to put all the search strings, and each search string you will say, PubMed, I used this search string. Embase, I used this search string. PsycInfo, I used that string. Web of Science, I use that string. The terms, the words may be the same, but the symbols and the way you do it may be different. For example, the EBSCO database, there is one Boolean operator that I've not talked about, but it is used in EBSCO host databases, and this is next. For example, if you're doing, let me say you are looking for the phrase infectious diseases, it may not accept the quotes because you want the phrase as it is, or you want the word infectious to come next to diseases. You would say infectious next diseases. So that is specifically for EBSCO databases. EBSCO is a platform and it has very many databases. It has Academic Search Premier, it has so many, it has ERIC, it has many databases, but you use next instead of the quotation marks. So similarly, Scopus may have that error message that you got from Scopus may have been as a result of you not using the symbols that are used in Scopus. So we need to actually, as an information retrieval specialist, or if you want to do it as a reviewer, you want to do the search yourself, you need to go to those databases and see which symbols are used. Sometimes they even give you examples. And when they give you an error message, sometimes they explain why this is an error, because you have used and instead of next. The error message is usually showing. So you can always correct it and you rerun the search. I hope this helps.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, Professor. We'll have one question from the box, the Q&A box, and then we'll go into the group activity. This question is from Oleskan. Please, are we supposed to use the operators all at once or in a stepwise manner? That is, try and first before introducing the others like NOT.
Okay, we are supposed to use all this. It's not a guarantee. For example, you may run a database, a search with and or, but without not. Not is not usually a common one unless there is where it is very, very important. Like, for example, if we are looking at the filter of sub-Saharan African countries, you can say, I want Guinea-Bissau, but not guinea pigs. There is that country called Guinea-Bissau. And if you put it in PubMed, it can give you guinea pigs. If you don't specify, it can give you guinea fowls, it can give you guinea pigs, it can give you Guinea-Bissau, you know, and yet for you are looking for a country, Guinea-Bissau. So you say Guinea-Bissau, not guinea fowls. There you cannot avoid it, but usually not that the Boolean operator not is not usually mandatory. it's not required unless really it is very important. But for and not, they are mandatory. You have to use them because remember you are combining terms, different concepts. If you base it on PICO, each concept, like the concept for population, you must include it with the concept for the intervention. And to combine those two, you must use and. And I'm hoping that the concept for population may not just be one word. So you will be forced also to use or in the first concept for population. I hope this works. Yes. So
Thank you, Professor.
Okay, yes.
Professor Alison, what's a question? Would you like to do a demonstration before we go into the group activity?
Yes, please, because it's going to help the activity. I think I need to do.
Sure, no problem. You could go ahead and do a demonstration.
Okay, so give me a minute and I open the PubMed. I'm going to use the PubMed database because it's the one that I know is open for everybody.
Not a problem.
So I'll need to share this screen. Let's see what is happening.
You'll have to stop sharing your current presentation in order to do it.
I'm going to stop, but I'm trying to open the website first.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, so I'm going to now stop sharing. Are we able to see the PubMed interface,
yes.
The home page?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to start. I'm going to use my keywords, the search strategy that I had in my, the one that I have in my slides. I'm just kind of looking for it. Where is it? Okay. So I'm going to start with the population, which was adults, 9 years and above, with the synonyms. So when I go to PubMed, so this is how the PubMed database homepage looks like. And from after going through this session, we are now going to be advanced searchers. So I'm not going to paste it in this window, but I'm going to for the advanced search window where we can use our Boolean operators. So I'm going to paste the first terms. If you remember, the terms were adults, 9 years and above, grown up, blah, blah, blah. With just a minute. So somebody asked, how do you select keywords? How do you select title, or how do you select abstract, or how do you select? So on this one, before I add this to the search query, if you are seeing where there is all fields, I'm going to select, there are so many things that you can select here. I can select text word, I can select title, I can select title and abstract, and many others. If you leave it as all fields, it means the database, the system is going to search through the title of the abstracts, the body, the abstract, the references, the appendices, etc. That's what all fields means. But if I say, I just want this in the title alone, of course, that one I will have narrowed it to the title alone. So let me try to widen it a bit. I can use title or abstract, or I can actually use text word. And text word means these words that we are searching will be, at least one of them or all of them should be in the text. The text starts from the text the same as the body of the abstract, I mean of the article. So I have sent it down to the search query, and I'm going to run the search. I'm going to run the search, and it has given me an error. Actually, I put this error intentionally so that you see how the error comes and it explains. They are saying that the index 19 years and above or work routine are not found in the index. So we can remove that one, 19 years and above. We can remove this one. And then there's something else it talked about, the routine. I need to go back and check it from here. Sorry. Work routine, I'll remove this. 19 years and above, I can also remove this. And then I run the search. I may go back and try to delete this one because it has an error. And then I put in this one. I select text word and I add it to the search query and I run the search. And it has given me 3,041. There is another error here, but
Pastor Alison, are you still there? I think she has some technical difficulties. Apologies, everyone. We can probably wait a few seconds to see if she can rejoin.
yeah, so we had searched the population. As you can see, it's here in history and we got 3,041. Now let me go and search for the next set of search terms. And we selected search term, text word, and we add it to the search query down here. And then I run the search. I am searching the concept separately, and then I'll combine them with Boolean operator. So if I go back to advanced search, we always go back to advanced search, and I check in the history, I'm going to find the two different concepts. The first one is the one of grown up and with mild adults with mild hypertension. Then I'm going to now send it up. I right click on this and I add it to the query box up here. And then I go to this one and I select Boolean operator and, because I am combining two different concepts. So I'll put that and then I run the search. And as I told you, and reduces the numbers. If you saw the numbers earlier, now we have only 485. So let's go back to advanced search and add our third concept. So if you look down here, I combined search 1 and search 2 into, and I got search 3. And as you can see, because I combined these two with and, the numbers have reduced, but they are now more relevant. And they have now terms from the different concepts. So let me pick the next one, which is the outcome. And I'll put it in here. I select text word. I add it in the search query and I run the search. And then I am going to combine this particular one with the previous one. So go back to advanced search. Select the last one, search 3, which we had combined the last two. Select third search, put it up in the query box and add this one with and Boolean operator, and you run the search. And I have 31 studies. Now the 31 studies will have the 3 concepts somewhere in the title, in the abstract, in the full text, you know, all those areas. And finally, I think I used a small, I should have expanded the search because I have 33 and I still have the last one, which is a period of 6 weeks. I think this one we can actually leave it because, but let me add it anyway and see if it will give us some, if it will combine and give us some studies. And I run the search. So as I mentioned, you can keep revising your search strategy until you get what you want. Now there's an error message here that over a period of 6 weeks has not been found in the index, in the PubMed index. So what do? I have to go back and remove this one. I can just leave it as 6 weeks. Sorry. I can just leave it as 6 weeks, but ideally we are supposed to keep revising this until we get what we want. Sometimes you search and you realize that you have finally, after you have combined like 2 or 3, you have no results. It happens. When it has no results, the best thing for you to do is to go back and revise the search terms. Unless you are sure that, now this one which has an error, we are not going to use it. I'm just going to delete it from the set. And then I'm going to combine this one, add to the search query with this one of 6 weeks. And let's see if it can give us studies. There were no studies found because, as you can see, the search terms were few. I mean here, when I combine the last ones, I got 31. And it is very, very unlikely that 6 weeks is going to be found here in 31. So this means I can now go back to my search and try to revise this one, to revise all of them, and then I rerun the search. That is how you revise the search and you rerun it. And then when you get your results, let me say, I am just going to show you. So when you get your results, you can now use these limits on your left-hand side, this column down here. You can say, I want only those studies, for example, that were published between 2020, maybe 2000 and 2025. And you use this one to drag this one up to 2000. And then you release the circle. If you release, it will give you only those studies that were published between 2000 and 2025. And they are 388. You may say, okay, let me just select the study design here. I want, for example, I want clinical studies. I want this one. I have to keep adding. The clinical studies are 95. I also want randomized controlled trials, 95. I also want systematic reviews, for example. So this is how you select the study design that you want to include. So when I added systematic reviews, it actually showed me, it displays 106 results. But a caution, that something I would like to mention here, you cannot include systematic reviews in a systematic review. If you do a systematic review of systematic reviews, then you are doing what we call an umbrella review or an overview of reviews. So usually in your inclusion criteria or exclusion criteria, you specify the study design, but you definitely exclude systematic reviews. That is if you're doing a systematic review. I hope that is clear. Then I can also add observatory studies, and they keep adding on what I already have. And then finally, I can say I want only those ones that were published in English language, and I can click here to see other filters. And here, let me see if there is language. Language is not there. Let me down here. Oh, additional filters actually is where we go. And then there is English and Spanish. And I think there are other filters down here, but let me just select those ones that were published in the English language. And then they'll always come. All the 103 are actually published in the English language. So this is what I wanted to show you. There is quite a lot more that I have not covered, but I just wanted to show you so that when you do your exercise, you need to use this query box. You need to use this interface to run the search. But before I leave this one, I want to clear all the filters. The filters that I have created down here, they will apply until I remove them. So if it means if I come next week and I try to search, these filters will still be applying, these ones that I selected. So I have to clear all the filters, and then I go back to the first where there are no filters, and I stop there. So do you have any questions before we do the exercise? We are all going to use PubMed. I think you need to go to pubmed.gov. That's where you can access the PubMed database, and then you select advanced and you run the searches from the exercise. Now I'm going to stop sharing and I share the exercise. Is that
Thank you so much,
okay?
Professor. Thank you so much, Professor Alison. Because it now 3:33 West
Pardon?
Africa time. It's now 3:33 West Africa time. So what we need to do is go into the breakout room to start the group activity. We won't be able to take any additional question. We'll ask those who have your hands raised, please put it in the question and answer box so that during the group activity, Professor Alison will try and see if she could answer your questions. Is everybody okay? Yeah? So all those who have your hands raised, please put your questions in the Q&A box, please.
That's okay. That's okay. Even though it's important to us, I guess.
Yes, because we're running out of time and we need to get everybody into the discussion for the
All right.
breakout room.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So Fortune, you could go ahead and set up the breakout room sessions for everyone, please.
All right, thank you, Julia. Before I do that, I want to confirm if everybody had received the instructions, and if there are any questions, I will just give like a minute for that. If there are any questions concerning the instructions for the group activity. If there are anyone, you could raise your hand, please. Joel, could you please let me know if your question is regarding the group activity?
No, sorry. It's a question on stage strategies generally.
Okay. But regardless, if you have any challenges, our team members should be on call with you, and they should be able to assist you, please. Okay, so I'll go ahead and open the rooms now. Kindly, if you're using your phone, check the top left corner of your screen. Otherwise, if you're using your system, please check the bottom corner of your screen, you would see the breakout room feature, and you'll be able to join your assigned group. Thank you.
And question, I just want to add to everyone that your research question, the research question that you have worked on in previous sessions, that note for everyone. So you use the Google Doc in your respective groups to do the group activity for today. Thank you.
Okay, I'm not sure if the trainees want me to go through the instructions.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone, from returning from your group activity. Just let you know that you'll be able to work on your group assignment after the session to submit next week. I'm going to ask Professor Alison if she would like to leave any final comments before I close off the session, please.
Okay, thank you very much. I was able to visit, I think, 4 or 5 groups. And the most of the challenges that I have seen is that the way you are combining terms, if it is one word, you don't put it in quotes.
We're not hearing you, Professor Alison. Are you there? Oh, Professor Alison, we're having technical difficulties. Unfortunately, Professor Alison is having technical difficulties. So what we will do is all your questions that you put in the Q&A box, we will try and see if we could get back to you on those questions with some answers. And just to key close off the session, as Professor Alison shared with us that the literature search is a key backbone of a systematic review. So it's very important that we understand and apply the quality research techniques in searching in within the different database that you shared with us. And we ask you to continue to work with your group members to apply what you have learned thus far. Please share us any additional questions that you may have, any challenges that you may have doing your group activity with your team leads, and we'll see how best we can assist you. And any other questions or concerns? Fortune would like to give any announcements before we close?
I think Prof. Alison is back. Prof, could you please give your final words?
Yes, I'm
Okay,
back.
Professor.
I'm sorry. The internet is very unstable.
Okay.
So thank you very much. I saw that you picked most of the techniques of searching that we talked about. Just a few. When you keep practicing, you're going to get, because every time you get an error, they show you where the error is. So it is going to be helpful for you to refine until you get the best results, and then you move on. And remember, we are supposed to search more than 3 databases for 1 systematic review. So I will stop here. Thank you very much. And I have my email. If you have any challenges along the way with your groups, you can always get in touch with me. And I see someone is asking how to get Mesh. Mesh actually is found in PubMed. If you go to the PubMed page where you are searching from and you select the first page, at the bottom you'll see Mesh subject headings, Mesh database. If you click there, it will take you to the Mesh. And remember, the Mesh, you are supposed to pick just the keywords to use in PubMed. Don't again search in Mesh because it will give you different things. Remember that. With those few words, I say thank you and I hand over to Julia.
Sorry, Prof.
One question.
Yes.
One question. How do you know that these are the best results?
Sorry.
How do you know that the best results?
When you look at, there is a group, I don't know which group I showed, when after they combined 2, 3 concepts, they were seeing their terms highlighted. And if all the terms are highlighted, like from, from the different concepts, you see the same words, the same terms in one study, then that is relevance. But also you can go ahead and look at them and read the titles and see if they actually align with your topic. That is how you can evaluate.
Okay then, thank you so much, Professor Alison and everyone. All additional questions, kindly write to SRN and we will see how best we can forward the questions to Professor Alison and we'll have those questions answered. So once again, thank you everyone for joining today and have a pleasant good evening or good afternoon and so on. Thank you so much.
It will be necessary we have another session on this. We are not yet grounded on this.
Yeah.
I must tell you that.
It takes practice. Doing search strategies in database, it takes practice. You have to go over the notes, listen to the recording again, and continue to do it. It's not a
Can we have the recording? Can we have the
thing.
recording today? Sorry, please. Can we have it tonight or within 24 hours?
When you do, you send your questions to us at SRN in email, and Professor Alison will try her best to answer all the questions, even the ones that were shared today. And you continue to work with your team members to work on the group activity. So as we go along, we will continue to interact with you, with your team leads, and help you to try to grasp what was taught today. It will take some little time, but you will get it. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much, everyone. And we're going to close the session today. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.